If being universally known for a single immortal opening line, like Herman Melville's "Call Me Ishmael," is the test of literary greatness, then Edgar Allan Poe certainly makes the grade. Once Upon a Midnight Dreary, from his iconic poem The Raven, has been recited by the greatest actors, immortalized in pop culture and seared into our collective consciousness. On October 7, 1849, Edgar Allan Poe died at the age of 40 after being found in a gutter in Baltimore, Maryland. Some believe he died from an overdose of opium. Others say alcohol. Pneumonia and even murder have also been suggested. Whatever the truth, his unresolved death has only fueled the mystique that clings to this master of the macabre story genre. Known in his own time as a reckless, alcoholic gambler and rumored to be addicted to opioids, Poe was underappreciated and even derided in an obituary by one literary enemy. But long after his passing, his work became part of the fabric of American life. His influences first permeated American fiction, then later film, and finally the society's broader culture. From the style of Stephen King's earliest novels and endless horror movie versions of his tales, through to the naming of the NFL's Baltimore Ravens, Poe reappeared everywhere. Why did his work become so ubiquitous? Partly because he was the first major American author to write short stories. Though everyone bookish now takes this medium for granted, it was once literature's poor cousin. Originally, many critics disrespected short stories as watered-down novels which don't require much effort to write. But Poe approached this underrated genre with a formula. He believed the short story could become incredibly powerful if its elements, in other words, subject matter, truly gripped the reader, and if every word was made to count. This in mind, Poe penned the thriller William Wilson and the drug-induced horror tale Ligeia, which many now say laid the groundwork for the imaginative American short story. In fact, several literary historians credit him with blazing a trail for giants like Kurt Vonnegut and Ray Bradbury, each of whom cited Poe as a major influencer of their science fiction. And many of his dark, sinister tales stand as feats of literature in their own right. It's even been claimed that The Telltale Heart remains the best story ever written by an American. Leaving aside his many now legendary Gothic horror stories, there's also a strong case for arguing that Poe virtually invented the detective and police procedural fiction genres. Some claim that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes launched late 19th century mystery crime and detective fiction, but that deduction is hardly elementary. For Doyle was in fact heavily influenced by 3 Edgar Allan Poe short stories, all of which featured what we would call the first modern fictional detective by Western standards. This groundbreaking trilogy began with what today's crime fiction readership would label a serial killer procedural, Edgar Allan Poe's stunningly original Murders in the Rue Morgue. It introduced Frenchman C. Auguste Dupin, an eccentric Parisian who took solving mysteries as a personal challenge, and possessed a unique talent the police of his time clearly lacked. For springboarding off his astonishing powers of observation, Dupin could insert himself into the mind of an unknown suspect. Basically, he was the prototypical genius profiler. Does he sound familiar? He should. Yes, Edgar Allan Poe's C. Auguste Dupin was none other than the original Sherlock Holmes, created, however, over 40 years earlier, and with a French accent. Poe is an author whose enigmatic observations are often quoted by people unaware of their actual source, like his 1849 rhyme, "All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream," and from 1845's The System of Dr. Tarr and Professor Feather, his edgy, daunting pronouncement about reality, "Believe nothing you hear, and only one half that you see." Once a soldier, Poe lost both his mother and his wife to tuberculosis. heartbreaks which may at least partly explain his melancholic persona and addictions. Yet despite career failures, financial crises, and those deep personal tragedies, some experts credit him with being the first American author to boldly make a living solely from writing. Though it's true he died in drunken, abject poverty, Poe's defiant choice to be a writer by trade was radical, because in his day, American authors wrote only in their spare time. Nobody equated writing scary stories with earning a livable wage. But Poe took the countercultural route and, while never debt-free, lived a creatively independent life. While that choice and his vices meant that he never became established on any personal or social level, his quest to take writing beyond a hobby did set a courageous precedent, which, along with his creation of the master detective and police procedural genres that paved the way for writers like Agatha Christie and Thomas Harris, formed Poe's legacy. Many, of course, would add that his gothic horror stories and visceral, edgy poetry, which tap our most atavistic fears and nightmares, themselves stand as literary and cultural pillars. But since, quoth the Raven, nevermore, let's turn the last word over to you. What's your own personal experience of Edgar Allan Poe's horror or crime fiction tales? Please tell us in the comments section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to meet more mysterious and melancholic tellers of tales for your midnight dreary.
Writing in the 19th century's first half, Edgar Allan Poe remains the horror genre's greatest early pioneer. Meet his tradition's late 19th century torchbearer, whose still famous masterwork lurks in episode 27.